should be starting to record now. So looking at what we're going to go through today, we're going to go through the network panel and who's involved with our delivery of T-levels and what support you've got behind the scenes from Sitting Guilds and AAL. Then we're just going to basically go straight into the website, let you know where everything is, start having a look at the Qualification Handbook and some of the activities, and then open up for discussion for the Occupational Specialism. Then we've got an update from Hodder Education as well, what they're going to be doing to support the delivery of these products. Then ultimately, you know, what we like to do is try and keep enough time for Q&A towards the end. So at least a good 10 to 15 minutes for people to ask as many questions as they want. So, you know, we'll cover all of that today. We're not going to cover, and I must stress this isn't about progression or industry placements or actually looking at the assessments yet. Okay, so the assessments will come a little bit later in another occupational specialism session that we'll run. But for now, it's just basically that familiarisation of the occupational specialism content and where things are on the website. So just by way of introductions, my name is Jason Howe. I am a technical advisor for Sitting Guilds and I cover construction. My contact details are on the screen there if anybody wishes to get in touch. And in construction, I have two other colleagues who are also technical advisors, Paul Brown and Ian Roberts, who work on their own projects and portfolios within construction. And then we are supported and we're closely with our industry manager, which is Naz Lewis Humphrey. For BSc, we have Rob Mallender. He's my equivalent, but in the BSc sector. I know some of you will be familiar with Rob. And he again is supported by the industry manager for BSc, which is Salim. Together, the pair of us are supported by another technical advisor for our post-16 delivery and mainly around technicals, and that's Alison Whittle. So again, some of you will be familiar with Alison. And from EAL, we have Michael Scarrett, who is a product specialist, and it's very, very similar role to a technical advisor. And Mike supports, you know, mainly the BSc sector with regards to the development and the delivery and the support for the BSc T-levels. So looking at the website, now I can show you the slides, or if people would like me to do a navigation, what I'll do is I'll keep that for the end if that's okay, and we can go through a quick demo of where things are on the website. So if you'd like that, please just drop it in the chat bar and I'll try and cover that towards the end. But basically, when you go on our website, you go onto construction. Sorry, people are still coming in. So when you go onto the Sitting Guilds website, there's many ways in which you can obtain or get to the information you want on our T-level products. We have a T-level specific page. So on the website homepage, you'll see the row of tabs and you can click into T-levels and then go to construction. The T-level qualifications 8710 for BSc and 8711 for construction also are now located within the construction and BSc website sections on our website. So you can go to them qualifications via those areas as well, or you can just simply type in 8710 or 8711 within our search bar and then select the qualification that's relevant to you. This one, to be fair, this one is highlighted for BSc because it's a generic slide deck. So you just click the level 3 and it takes you straight into the qualification. So hopefully everyone is familiar with using the website and how they can get to the T-level section. Moving on. The way the website's laid out is exactly the same as all of our other qualifications, mainly within construction BSc. So you have an informations tab, which gives you all the information relating to the qualification, QAN numbers, POS numbers, etc., GLH, everything that's relevant with regards to course setup. And then alongside that is all of the documents. And this is the area that's been massively populated lately with centre documents, which is the TQ Qualification Handbook, which is highlighted on the screen there, or the sample assessment materials are on there now as well. So, you know, you just can go on and start downloading which ones are relevant. There is so much on there for the employer set project, the core exams, but more importantly, for the occupational specialisms, there is some support packs there for learners and for tutors on the occupational specialism. So you can go on, staff can go on, download the ones they want. So for bricklaying, go into bricklaying, download the sample assessment, and then you can start looking at that accordingly. If we get time towards the end of the day, we'll start having a look at that as well. We're just going to try and, you know, get a bit of interaction going, and hopefully get you guys to just have a go at finding just some of the key information, because with regards to the TQ, the Qualification Handbook, a lot of times we skip over a lot of the information contained within the front of the handbook, and we go straight to our units and our delivery requirements. So all I want people to do is really just have a go, no more than 5 minutes, really, just see if you can find the GLH for the Occupational Specialism for Brickwork, as well as the POS number. Now that is the 6-digit code that City and Guilds gives, so it'll be 8711-something. Find the resource section and requirements, in particular the centre staffing, so what's required with your centre staffing. There's some guides on there, roughly which pages they'll be on, and then just look at see if you can find some of the induction requirements as well. I don't want to spend too long, just if you have got a second device, if you've got another mobile phone or you're working off dual screens, and you want to have a go at that, please do now. We'll sort of be on the line for 5 minutes whilst people are having a go, and then we can sort of start going into get the questions rolling. So if anybody's got any questions on that, again, let's see some hands up, and let's see if there's any questions going into the chat bar. We have had one question come in. In order for planning, are there exam dates for the core units? Yes, they are. The core exams happen obviously each year, obviously if you've got learners rolling on, but they are in year one for the core. What we do have coming up, which I can share with you a bit later because I've got some dates, is we've got some sharp webinars on curriculum planning, and that just sort of highlights a timeline basically. So it gives you a high level overview, but then highlights a timeline for the planning of certain things, such as your exam dates, synoptic dates, assessment dates, that type of thing. So hopefully that answers that for you, Carl. Cool, thank you. Once the curriculum planning webinar is delivered, or probably before that actually, there will be going on our website as well. But again, they're just a guide that support you guys and your delivery staff with sort of planning in this curriculum, because this will be new to them, especially if they've never delivered things like technicals. This will be very new to a lot of tutors with regards to delivery. Once you've had a go at that activity and you've found the JLH, feel free to type it in the chat bar and the POS number, or simply just put your hand up, and we'll be happy to take any questions on that section. I'm just actually going to pull it up myself. If just to note as well, if we've got heads of department on, and you're booked onto a few of these sessions, they will take slightly different paths, because obviously we're trying to keep it trade generic. But carpentry and joinery tomorrow will be very similar, but there are some elements that are specific. So once you've sat one, don't feel that the next one and the next one and the next one's going to be exactly the same. They will be similar, but there will be key elements within each occupational specialism session that will be relevant to that area in particular, such as carpentry and joinery. Tomorrow we'll be discussing. I think that'll probably provoke a lot of discussion around how that's going to be assessed and delivered when you've got carpentry and joinery both at level 3 moving forward. So that will be ultimately tomorrow. Like I said, if you've done it, please feel free to just put your hand up or put your responses into the chat. And the reason we've asked people to sort of do this activity, it's just to again raise the importance of making sure that when yourselves or delivery staff are reviewing the qualification handbook, that these elements aren't overlooked, because ultimately they are so important for tutors to really know the hidden detail, basically, when it comes to delivering these T levels and any qualification in that sense, really. So we've got a couple of hands going up now. And when we're looking at the programs, the program of study number, you've got component numbers and you've got the numbers that go with the core, and there is relevance to that, and we are going to pick it up in a minute. The importance of why you need to know both, and that it's not just 8711-30. Got a couple more people joining, hopefully. Can you clarify the requirement for delivery staff to hold the NVQ level 3 brickwork? In what context do you mean, Jason? Because ultimately, all of any level 3 qualification that's delivered has to be delivered by someone of competence and relevant experience. So ultimately, the NVQ level 3 brickwork, or the old advanced craft as it was, and the relevant, they need to have at least a level 3. We see NVQ, it could be an advanced craft, because there's a lot of technical elements within this qualification, and we need to make sure that the people that's delivering this qualification are fully competent and fully qualified to deliver this. Ultimately, these learners are hopefully going to go out into apprenticeships or into industry, and we need to know that they're getting taught by people of significant quality qualifications and experience as well. But again, it's not just sort of limited to the NVQ. You've previously got the old advanced craft, and who knows, in the future this could be replaced by the qualification, which is the current apprenticeship standard. Does that answer your question, or is anything? Nothing yet. So has everyone had a go at that activity and found the POS numbers, the GLH, what resources you're going to need in particular, centre staffing? It's interesting as well, if you're looking through the resource requirements, the physical resources, what you will find, especially for the occupational specialism, we can badge this up, to be what we, whatever it needs to be, whether it's a T level, whether it's an apprenticeship, whether it's a diploma. The fact of the matter is, the trade hasn't changed just because, government's brought out T levels and it's got a fancy new badge on it and it's endorsed, or it's run through DFE and IFATE, etc. So, carpentry and joinery is still carpentry and joinery, bricklaying is still bricklaying. We still lay bricks one on top of two and patterns and everything else. Nothing has changed ultimately in that respect. So, when staff say, oh, another new qualification, maybe they might panic. I'm very confident that when it comes to the delivery of this, that centres will be fully equipped, especially with the occupational specialism, to go ahead and start enjoying this qualification and this new qualification, this level 3 T level, and ultimately the learners as well. GLH 600, yeah. So that, again, if colleagues on the call were involved in the validation sessions that we ran, what you'll notice is the GLH has actually gone up 100 hours. So it was originally 500, and through validation and through the support from some people on this session today, we were able to go back. We were able to increase the GLH and add more weight behind it, so that it just shows the importance of that, really, and the importance of your support through that session as well, or through that process, sorry. Yes, that is correct, Andy, that's right, yeah. Over 2 years. 1,000 hours over 2 years. But we've got quite a few hands up and people have commented in the chat. So basically, when you're looking at your POS numbers, we have 8711-30, which is the main overarching component, if you like, or the core component. Then with Bricklaying, our POS is 8711-35. 305 is slightly different, and that's a component number when you come to booking exams and stuff a little bit later. And the reason why we asked you to do that is 305 is the assessment number, Tom. So when you're looking to book assessments, it's 305. But when you're looking at the occupational specialisms and the component numbers or the POS numbers, it is 8711-35. And the reason that's important is because obviously when you get your learners in and you are going to start looking at registration, yes, you've got to register them on the POS, or the program study number 8711-30, but you will also then need to register them also against the occupational specialism, which is whichever trade is relevant to those groups of learners, etc., whether it's bricklaying, carpentry, joinery, painting and decorating, or plastering. And then you've got your component number, which is the assessment number as well. So when you're booking the assessment later on, that's where 305 comes into play, Tom. And all that information really is on page 11 of the Qualification Handbook as well. So hopefully you found that just sort of useful, that so you can start digging into the handbooks and start pulling off some of the information you need. Or ultimately, you know, I will certainly share this slide deck with you guys after the session. And please feel free to share it with colleagues who maybe couldn't be on the call today. And again, if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to come back to us. So hopefully you found that quite useful. So just looking at the technical content within the occupational specialisms as well and within the handbooks, is we just wanted to touch on this and show how it's now laid out, because this is where there is a slight difference in the qualification handbooks. And those that attended the core component webinar before Christmas, this is exactly the same slide, and the reason we've kept it in there is it's still relevant, because whether it's the core or whether it's the occupational specialism, you've got your learning outcome and your criteria, which we're all familiar with. No matter which qualification handbook we pick up, we should see at least those two elements. And for City and Guilds, we've always provided a range as well, and this provides a detail of information required. For example, with BSc systems as a topic, the range of that systems would need to be covered, or if it's, you know, health and safety legislation, then obviously you've got all of the legislation and regulations underneath, which is the range and what needs to be covered. Then you've got what do learners need to learn. Now this is quite handy to share this with the learners as well, and make them aware of what's required. So you're taking the range and then going into a little bit more detail. So basically just looking at what's on the screen there with regards to welfare facilities. It's mentioned up in the range where welfare facilities will be covered, but then within what learners need to learn, it just goes into each topic individually, just in a little bit more detail, and just explains to the learner what they need to be covering as well. If could be for schemes of learning or mapping or whatever you need. We also list the core skills and the general competencies in our maths, English and digital skills to each learning outcome criteria as well. So if you are looking at mapping, there could be for things like apprenticeship or whatever it needed to be, then our skills are listed in that section of the qualification handbook as well. And that theme follows continuously through each component, whether it's the core or the occupational specialism. When you're looking within the handbook as well, each trade is basically a unit, as we're probably more familiar with knowing them as. So the units or the components, if you like, for a trade will look quite big. So again, because everything's covered within that, we're kind of used to it being sort of bricklaying and then each section unitized below that and delivered accordingly, whereas now it's kind of grouped under one component. So just hopefully you've got you've still got the handbook open. We just want you to go to the index at the front of the handbook basically and find the section with for bricklaying, and have a quick look through, and let's open up for any questions, anything that you may have already been looking at it before this session. Has anyone got any questions you want to ask, anything you want to put in the chat? People can raise their hands. Dennis, I see you've got your hand raised. I don't know if that's from before. He's put his hand down. So yeah, basically just want to give you sort of 5 minutes, have a quick look at some headlines in the bricklaying component, and you know, let us know your thoughts. Let us have some questions, and we'll obviously try our best to answer them as we can. So I just want to give it sort of 5 minutes to review that, if that's okay. No hands up at the minute. Even if you've got comments you want to come off mute, please raise your hand. We can arrange that, even if you just want to come off mute and say hello, basically. Just whilst you're doing that, I just want to sort of go on, Tom, you've got your hand up, sorry. Do you want to come off mute, mate?
Hello, how you doing?
There you go, you all right?
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, I was just going to say, I like the way you've mentioned the NHBC in there as well. It's quite good.
Yeah, Tom, I think you were part of the validation, weren't you?
Yeah.
I know that was Captain Johnny, I know. But just one of the things to mention as well, all of the this qualification has been then endorsed by our employer and industry board as well, which they're listed right at the very beginning. And we are trying to increase our sort of, we're trying to increase awareness of these professional organisations such as the NFB, FMB, IOC within our qualifications, because it's important that, you know, the industry has this professional recognition. So any feedback like that is fantastic as well. So appreciate that.
No, it's good that you point it in, because we tend to use them anyway, really, when we're teaching, because it's industry practice, isn't it? But to have it in the qual, it's what's probably needed, really.
Yeah, and it helps as well if you've got you could have someone coming into teaching and learning that may be new and may not be fully aware of a lot of the professional organisations that are out there. So it's quite handy that, you know, it's raised that way as well, and that ultimately, like, that we don't forget they're there as well, because as much as they are there to support industry, they're there to support education as well. So I know from the NFB, myself, Ian, Paul and Naz, we quite often attend some of their conferences. I know they're going virtual at the minute, the regional networks as well. Just to give them an update on some of the qualifications that's coming out. So not only are we working with our own employer board, but we're working with members of NFB, IOC, FMB, just to make them aware. Look, you know, here's the new qualification that's coming. It's a T level. It has got significant work experience, so we need your help as well. So when our colleges and our centres are contacting these employers, they're aware of what's sort of coming, if that makes sense. Sometimes, obviously not in every case, but hopefully in a lot.
Yeah. It's what's needed, isn't it?
It is, certainly is, and that's what hopefully this T level will give us, that closer link between sort of full-time learners, if you like, with employers, and hopefully once it's all signed, sealed and delivered, we've got that progression into employment or apprenticeships in whatever form that looks like. There was something else I was going to mention. All right, that was it. For technicals, mainly on BSc, I would admit, they have a group on LinkedIn. And yes, we have the construction group on LinkedIn, which is, we post all kinds of information on there, and we're going to try and engage more of our members in conversation and discussions on there. But I just wanted to put it out there, really. If we had a specific LinkedIn group, we'll use LinkedIn because it's probably one of the best examples, because people can go on and try and apply to be part of the group. If we had, say, a group on LinkedIn that was specific for construction T-levels, would that benefit centres? Would it benefit tutors? Would it benefit, managers? Would it benefit even, technicians and assessors? Would it benefit staff, basically, if we had that group where we could engage in discussions, put out new information? Or do you think that the construction group, for those that are part of it, that we currently have, which would probably give a bit more generic information, a bit more high level, what are your thoughts around that? Would you prefer a LinkedIn T-levels group just for construction? Is it worth having one for construction and BSc together? Will BSc take over? I don't know. Just questions we want to pose to try and get the best feel in other ways in which we can sort of support you in either preparation for delivery or ultimately following September, the delivery and assessment of these qualifications. Yes, you've got a mountain of people that's here to support you, but I know that the success of the BSc LinkedIn group is it's really popular. So would that help centres? Do you think your staff would engage in it, or if you're a tutor yourself, would you engage in it? And it's not just for sitting guilds in the sense that we can give you updates. It's like a bit of a forum, really. So if Jason wanted to pose a question, I'm delivering Bricklaying, and I might pose a question there, and Naz, who's delivering Bricklaying in another college, may be able to come in and offer some guidance or support or whatever that may be. So it can be used in that sense as well. We're just trying to gauge what else we can do to further support you. Is LinkedIn the best platform? Does anyone know of another platform that's widely used in FE? We have Teams, but it's quite difficult because it has to be set up with email addresses and whatnot, and it is quite difficult to manage because, well, it is just difficult. LinkedIn group may advance stuff outside centres. Exactly. Some of the vocational back groups. Exactly. Carl, Carl and Andy have both hit the nail on the head there. Because I remember years ago when we got the back, I used to be head of construction in FE up until February this year. So yeah, it could be that, and that was the thinking around it. Really, was we used to have the vocational groups within BARC, and over time they kind of depleted and ended up coming to an end. But if it is something we could do, then I am more than happy to set up the group, and you'll have all of the advisors on there as well for construction. So for argument's sake, say I'm on annual leave for a fortnight in my conservatory at the minute, but say I'm on annual leave for a fortnight and I might not be available via emails, you could post a question on there. One of my colleagues might be able to pick it up, that type of thing. So what I'll do is I'll set it up. Ultimately, it is going to be a mixture of obviously everything construction, bricklayers, carpenters and joiners, painters and decorators and plasterers. And I think it'd be good to sort of bounce ideas between disciplines as well. Yeah, for sharing ideas and good practices and support. Spot on, Richard. So, it could be something that the bricklayers are doing fantastically well, that the carpenters and joiners may need to know about, and vice versa, plasterers, painters, whomever. So what I'll do is I will set the group up probably towards the end of this week. Everybody that's registered for this event or that's attended today, what I'll do is I'll send an email. I will send an email out to you, just let you know that the group's live. I'll send a link, and then what I'll need you to do is I'll need you to go on and request to join the group, because ultimately I may not be connected with everybody on social media. So feel free to go on and share it with staff, share it with colleagues within your centres and beyond, that it is there. And we will limit it to construction only. There won't be any sort of there won't be any BSc on there, or and it'll just be for T. Well, I'm saying it'll just be for T levels, technicals. Let's put it for everything technicals, but mainly T levels. And I think it'll be quite valuable, especially the run up to delivery. How you might want to share some examples of schemes of learning, curriculum plans, whatever that may be. If we can get it off the ground quite quick, you may be able to get joiners from one centre to liaise with joiners from another centre, do half a scheme of learning each and share it. Just try and engage people in that good practice. But that's, everyone be there to support everybody, basically. More information, communication. Exactly. So that is what we're trying to achieve. So what I'll do is I'll get that set up this week, and I will share that with you guys towards the end of this week. So we want to try and get it done as quick as possible, and let's see if we can get some traction and a bit of engagement, get a bit of engagement on there as well, and whatnot. So just basically, let's just get some discussions going. I think more than anything else. So is there any questions on the occupational specialism within the handbook?
I've got a quick question. It's not about the actual occupational specialism. It's more about the GLH.
Yep.
Is there going to be any change, do you think, with the GLH for the core? Because at the moment it's 400 hours, isn't it, for the GLH?
It is.
I know you changed it from 5 to 600 for the occupational specialism, which is probably a great thing. But do you think there's going to be any change with the core, or do you think it might stay at 400?
99.9% sure it'll stay at 400. The reason being is that went through validation similarly to the occupational specialisms, and upon review there was the people that we had validating the content didn't feel that there was any need to increase it, because what they would be looking to do is do a sort of blended learning model,
right?
And try and condense key parts, health and safety example, into the delivery that will go alongside the occupational specialism as well.
Right.
So, but happy to take feedback. Stick a comment in the chat bar, please. And if you'd like us to have another look at it, I'm not saying anything could be sort of done instantly, but I'm certainly happy to take any feedback back to my colleagues and to have a look at. Because ultimately what we've got to remember is this has gone through quite a robust validation, and this has been approved by IFATE. So I don't know what wiggle room there would be, but I am more than happy to take back any feedback or any comments regarding key parts within the TQ handbook. So please, just any feedback, please stick it in the chat, and I'll certainly take that back.
Okay, thanks. I was only querying really because with the Pearson for the initial rollout, which is the design, saying and planning, which we're currently delivering, that changed a number of times, end up at 600. So I was just wondering if there's any chance, the sitting guilds would actually end up going the same way or not. But it makes sense that you'd actually merge it more with the occupational specialism, whereas with the Pearson it's a bit different because it's the design, saying and planning, and then you're doing the setting out in the second year, so it's a bit different really. So you can't really merge it as well.
Yeah, and that's one of the beauties of the craft, the construction craft.
Yeah, is
that we can merge and contextualize a lot of the core delivery into the occupational specialism as well. So with the increase in hours on the occupational specialism, that was twofold really. One, with sort of in the back of our minds a blended learning emphasis, but also the requirement to develop learners' hand skills and dexterity skills when using the tools and the equipment and stuff, because unique to construction craft is the hand skill. No disrespect to BSE colleagues, but construction craft is all about that craft skill, which is sort of supported and underpinned by knowledge, whereas BSE is the reverse of that. without being disrespectful. I don't mean to be disrespectful.
One last question. I'm assuming that the 315 hours of industry placements on top of the guided learning hours.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's separately.
That's right. Brilliant. Thank you.
No problem. But please put a comment in the chat about the increase, about the GLH on the car. And again, I can certainly take that back, or any other questions or any other comments, you know, please. Darren, there isn't any practical task manuals being created, but what we are looking to do, we've got the assessments which are on our website now. And again, if practical task manuals would be helpful, then I'm happy to take that back. Do you mean on the smart screen platform for purchase? Right, yeah, I'm happy to take that back. Off the record, what we are looking to do is we're looking to do an overhaul of the content on smart screen, basically. So on smart screen there is so much content on there at the minute. For the diplomas, the old-time diplomas, the technicals, the new apprenticeships, and now, you know, hopefully there's going to be some stuff on there, mainly around the core component moving forward. So what we have discussed, and it's very, very, very much just in discussion at the minute, is about like bringing together the resources and having it as an offer for, say, a level 2 and an offer for, say, a level 3. So all the resources for that, for level 3, would come together. If that's not possible, then I think we'd be more than happy to have a look at whatever we can produce to further support staff in delivering the T levels, especially the occupational specialism. And I'll certainly take that back as well. Sorry, who was that one? Yeah, I'll certainly take that back, Darren, and put that back to our team to see if there is anything. Paul, could you just, I don't know what you mean about the time scale. Yeah, do you want to come off mute, Paul?
Yeah, I'm just a little worried. I understand that we need to cram more in to what we've been doing. We need to improve the skills. However, it seems to me that we're being asked to put a pint in a half-pint glass. We don't really have the time to do what you're asking us to do, I don't think. Not to bring it to the standards that I've seen in other occupations. I've looked at the joiners, they've had massive failures in this simply because of the amount of learning they need to do in such a short period of time. I'm also concerned at the enrolment criteria. At the moment, we have a lot of students that can barely read and write, and I don't think they're going to be able to handle this kind of pressure. Is there going to be a new set of rules on that?
So you've got the entry criteria, which is in the handbook there. It is only a guide. I'm just trying to find the page that it was on. But what you're going to have as well, there's going to be the transition program for T levels as well, which will ultimately support this. You could have current level 1 and level 2 students that have been doing a diploma that may progress onto this from September as well. So there is going to be a range of pathways onto this qualification, which will hopefully, you know, support with that learner development. But ultimately, as centres, you would set your own criteria with regards to your entry requirements of your learners. So it's only a guide what we've put out there. Centres must ensure that all learners have the opportunity to gain the qualification through an appropriate study and training, and that any requisites stated in the what is this about qualification sections are met when registering for this qualification. So the next sentence says it all. This may include grades 4 above in maths and English, or ultimately a level 2 vocational qualification or equivalent in related subject, the CBE stuff. So we're just trying to sort of put guides out there, but your entry criteria will be what it'll be. If you're insisting that they would have a level 1, then that's your prerogative. So, and this is delivered over 2 years as well. So we've got 2 years to develop that skill level. And just remember, there's no knowledge exam for the occupational specialism. So it is all about the practical, and that the knowledge will be deferred through the practical synoptic assessment as well. So as much as the knowledge is very, very important when we're looking at the qualification, you know, there is a need for that skill development as well. And ultimately, that's why the GLH is what it is. I mean, 600 hours on the GLH alone is quite significant over the 2 years. But again, that's not just limiting to what we're saying. You know, you've got your own sort of entry requirements on top of that as well. But again, happy to take that feedback internally and report on it accordingly. Paul, I know you had your hand up next. I don't know if you want to come in. Paul Statham.
Yeah, that was me.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I just wanted to really add to what Paul was saying. Really, I mean, there's always been a lot of concern, and there was in the first wave of T levels of students in construction coming in with lower grades and struggling with the content. So, and I think what you've done is the same as Pearson. You've recommended really that it's up to centres, but the grade 4 is a recommendation. So what Pearson did was they said we recommend, and the line they use is students are most likely to achieve if they have the following four areas at grade 4, so maths, English, science, and one other. What we've found so far that delivering the core content this year is that students, even with 4s, are struggling. And I know we've had somewhat massaged figures really with recent GCSEs, but a lot of providers are already upping the entry requirements to 4 5s. And some colleges, which I disagree with, are saying even 6s in maths and science. I do understand people's concerns that there's a lot to do and there's very little time between now and September. But on the upside, I will say is that sitting guilds, you do seem to have a lot of content readily available, whereas the content from Pearson was coming out in November. We're 2 months into teaching, so there is a lot to do, but I think you're in a better position than some were. Yeah,
just to support as well as we do have currently, it's already in development, is we've got our consultants developing the smart screen resources for the core component, because practically, you know, we've assigned more GLH for the occupational specialism, etc. So, you know, we can cover it that way, but with the core is where there's going to be a lot of concern. So again, with Hodder, and I'll come on to that next, I'll give an update as to what Hodder are doing. But from City and Guilds, we've actually got the consultants now writing this material ready for, so that we can get it out there hopefully before, well, it will be before the summer, so that you guys can start having a look at it, reviewing it, get some sample stuff out there. We also are now partnering up with certain organisations and individuals with regards to other resource development. Things like videos and whatnot that we can get on our smart screen platform that, you know, people can purchase and that type of thing. But again, going back to this LinkedIn group as well, that is something that we could maybe engage conversation with on there, that, you know, people might be able to share experiences, resources, whatever that may look like to support that process. Now, this is ultimately going to be new. Any experience with regards to what Pearson have gone through, you know, we've kind of learned from that as best we can. But the construction core within this will be slimmer and smaller than the construction core of Pearson, and ultimately it's actually smaller than the construction core for BSc. So as much as there's a lot of strong topics in there that need to be covered, and I agree, you know, that's why it's over 2 years. The core can be delivered sort of condensed into the time period it needs to be for that year, and maybe the practical thinned out over year 1 delivery, and then you've got all of the practical and the occupational specialism in year 2. So that's another thing to consider. And again, sharing these experiences and delivery methods with colleagues is what will be also supportive and important as well. But again, keep telling us what you want from us as technical advisors, because and us as sitting guilds, because we're always trying to do what's best for you guys ultimately at the end of the day, and we don't want to see you struggling throughout. Okay, I just want to, I know we've only got 10 minutes left. I know we've took some questions. Thanks for that. We're actually in the process now for the approval stage. I mean, I'm going to send this slide deck out following this session today. We actually have 2 forms that we're trying to get our contacts in our centres to complete. Now, again, please share this amongst anybody that's going to be delivering T-levels within your centre, because we need your information basically, so that we can support you guys further, make sure that you guys are fully up to date with what we've got coming up, so that you're not missing events and things like that. So, such as today, I think, you know, we had 35 people registered for this event, and it maxed out, but there's only 22 attended. So we need to be targeting the people, you know, so there's people who's ultimately registered probably realised it's not been applicable to them and then not joined, whereas some people may have missed out. So what we can do is we can target our comms to the 50 centres that's going to be delivering this from September, i.e. you guys on the call. So on them 2 links there, not the pre-approval one, but the contact update form, please share it with colleagues, complete it yourself, and give us your details if you're happy to, and then we can share with you information and communications that's relevant to the T-level specifically. And yeah, we can get in touch and target our comms so that we haven't got people who this stuff isn't relevant to registering for events. All right, and last couple of things from me, really. On the back of resources, Hodder Education, the publisher, they publish all of our sort of textbook and ebook resources now. At Sitting Guilds, we don't produce our own anymore. Stick to what we know, qualifications, smart screen, that type of thing. And Hodder have partnered with us, and they produce a wide range of textbooks for us. Some of them you may already be familiar with. And they are going to have the 2 textbooks ready for core. So the BSc is going to be launched in October 21, and the construction on site is November 21. I don't understand why it's that way around. I've fed that back to Hodder because everything in our core is in the BSc. So it'd make sense that the construction will be launched first, and then BSc would take longer to launch second. They did give us some feedback because they're trying to sort of contextualize the core to industries, whether it's BSc or construction, and the sort of getting employer involvement as well. So I can understand it from one sense, but yeah, construction is slightly smaller and everything in it is in BSc. But these are coming early next year, albeit yes, it is November, unfortunately. But what I'll do as well is I will share with you our contact at Hodder, and it's a gentleman called Thomas Stotter. And again, I'll share that with you in the email update I send following this session. And if you want to purchase books, get some examples, get some chapters sent out, please just get in touch with him direct, and he'll support you as best he can moving forward as well. Richard, I know you put your hand up again, mate.
Yeah, sorry to be a pain. There is, I do know the reason why the construction book's later.
Go on then.
Because I'm working with Hodder Education to develop it with them, and the learning resources as well. And you said about the videos. And funnily, I had a meeting with Tom this morning about an hour before I met you guys. The reason is, I think, the reality is because the author pulled out.
Yeah.
So they're just, you're right, the BSc is bigger, but their author dropped out last minute, I think, who's usually does it all. So they've just scrambled someone else. They must have been desperate. They've asked me to help. So yeah, that's the reason behind it. But they are doing a hell of a lot, I think, for the resources for you guys.
And I think, you know, having people that's sort of been part of the process, the T-level process, you know, developing these resources such as yourself and the experience you have with Pearson is excellent for Hodder and for us. You know, that we've got people with experience in this field ultimately developing these resources. So hopefully it can be a bit more of a personal touch with regards to people's experiences of T-levels as well. So
absolutely, and you hit a nail on the head earlier on, really, when you said you've looked at what Pearson have done and you've kind of learned from it. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah, because there's so many things that didn't work so well there.
Yeah, I'll be still pushing to try and get it launched earlier than BSE, but that's just a construction versus BSE rivalry we have. Yeah, but Thomas is absolutely great. He does absolutely everything he can, and he's very open to listening to any other ideas people have got around resources. I'm just trying to go over some notes we had the other day when I met with him, but he's very interested in listening to people's ideas, and if he can put a plan together with regards to creating something new, he's more than happy to do that. Long term, what they did say is that they may be looking to publish stuff for the occupational specialisms, or even assessment support. I think that was the primary one, which hopefully you'll, when Tom and Paul were talking earlier, that assessment support, whether it's question banks, whether it's practical, a set of practical activities, whatever that may look like, that's in discussion as well. So there's a lot of things going off in the background, and these sessions hopefully are a good platform to keep you up to date with that. Okay. The last couple of slides from me is we've got a short survey. If you have got a smartphone and you've got a QR scanner, please scan that QR code there, or ultimately when you get this presentation, please follow that link. I would ask just a couple of minutes of your time, if you don't mind, to complete the survey, because it helps us as well in supporting you guys a bit better. So once you get the presentation, I appreciate honestly how busy everybody is, but if you have got a couple of minutes, if you don't mind, I'd really appreciate if you could complete that survey. That would be fantastic. The very, very, very last thing I am going to cover is I've been asked to share this with you. As you know, or might have heard, that there's a qualification reform currently. So the Department of Education is in the process of reforming the level 3 and below qualification offer, hence T levels, etc. And it could seriously affect the curriculum that you guys offer in the future. And this could be really, really significant at T levels as well. So Sitting Guilds are currently responding to the level 2 and below call for evidence consultation to help the government understand what the risks are in the reform process. So we hope to influence the Department of Education positively to enable the training providers continue to have the positive impact they do. For construction, we know that in a lot of sectors within our discipline, accept level 2 qualifications. That is a significant risk if these are reformed and ultimately removed. So if you've got 10 or 15 minutes, whether it's yourself or a curriculum manager, a head of department, director, whatever that may be, if you've got 10, 15 minutes for a phone call in the next 10 days, we just want to gain some input, get people's views to support our response. If you don't mind, could you please put in the chat, yes or no? If everyone wouldn't mind just answering that question for us. Again, it's only 10, 15 minutes. I know how busy you are. I've just asked you to complete a survey, and now I'm asking you to do this. But please, if you've got 10, 15 minutes spare, if you wouldn't mind supporting us, then please let us know. And ultimately, we're just trying to protect the future qualifications for your learners as well. So if you can, please put yes or no in the chat bar. Certainly not offended, because again, we appreciate how busy everybody is. But if you can take a call from my colleagues, then please let us know. And if you don't mind, I will pass on your email and names to them, and they'll be in touch accordingly. But I really appreciate any support. Whilst you're typing in the chat bar, basically, I just want to say thank you for attending today. I hope you found it useful. This is the first one we've delivered, Occupational Specialisms. This is the first time we've delivered it on Teams. And it's gone, I don't think it's gone too bad, to be honest. I think it's worked well. Having it on Teams, people can come off mute. The only downside to Teams is if you get too many people on, it can sometimes impact on the quality, where GoToWebinar, you can have up to 500. But I hope you have found it useful today. Please keep putting in the chat bar if you can take a 10-15 minute call. I will share this slide deck with you at the end of this session. Again, just a big thank you from me, my colleagues, my colleague Naz that's on the session today as well. And please let us know. Honestly, do not hesitate. You will all have my email address by the end of today, and get in touch. I'll set up the LinkedIn group. Once I've got that set up again, I'll send out the link today, and hopefully let's get the ball rolling, and let's get everyone supported in delivering these T-levels. Is there any other questions? I know that there's a couple of hands up, but I think that's from before. Thank you for any comments, any feedback you've got as well. Andy, if you're not the person we can speak to, then again, speak to colleagues and let us know. You'll have my email at the end of the day, so feel free to put me in touch with colleagues that may be able to have that 10-15 minute chat if it's okay. I hope you all stay safe and well. Wish you all the best for this year. Here's to a hopefully better 2021. We do have a series of events coming up, the curriculum planning webinar, as I said, and then we have another couple of sessions in late March on delivering and assessing these T-levels. And then the plan after that was to get out and do face-to-face events. So I might have had my job by then, I doubt it. But as soon as we can get on the road and get out to see you guys face-to-face, we certainly will. If we can't, excuse me, we will put on some network sessions for people to come along to. Kind of what we've done for a long time, but it'll be virtually. So I hope everyone stays safe. Wish you all the best, and please let us know if you need anything from Sitting Guilds. Hope you have a great day. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers, Jason.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Jason.